The holiday period is over. For those of you that celebrated a holiday, I hope you're able to celebrate safely with family and that your batteries are recharged. And as we are in a new year, that means that the footballing calendar has resumed, and we also have resumed at the African Five-A-Side podcast with another preview of match day 4 of the African Champions League. All of that after the break. Hello, welcome to another episode of the African Five-A-Side podcast. I'm your host, Maher Mazahi. As always, this podcast is brought to you by africasaCountry.com. Africa's a Country is on publishing break, so no new articles to plug, but if you haven't caught up on all of your reading over the holiday period, I highly recommend you check them out in the description below. So, as you can see, I am not at home today. I am in a hotel room. I am in Doha, Qatar. I am covering the Trophée des Champions between Paris Saint-Germain and Monaco here for the Ligue 1 show. And that's going to be televised on many, many different channels. So, for those of you that have access to that, please do check it out when it comes out, probably around a week from now, 7 to 10 days from now. If not, I'm going to be posting a preview on this channel as I did with the episode I did in Marseille. But as a result, I was traveling all day today. On the airplane, I had access to the internet. I got to do a little bit of research ahead of match day 4. I'm still very excited for match day 4. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how much football I'm going to be watching. As I'm recording this right now, CR Belouizdad versus Ahly just finished. CR Belouizdad won 1-0. I didn't get to watch any of the match. I was out and about running, trying to arrange things at the very last minute, as you tend to do during these shoots. And so, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch that. I'm going to try to watch some African Champions League over the weekend, though, all of tomorrow or on Sunday. If I don't get around to it, I'll try to watch it later on in the week and recap it then. But for now, I did do some research to do a preview. This is coming out slightly late, as I mentioned. The first match has already been played, but hopefully you'll find some value in it. So I was going to talk about CR Belouizdad versus Ahly. That match is already done. CR Belouizdad just won 1-0. That's a big result for CR Belouizdad. Right before the break, they lost 6-1 to Al Ahly. That match was delayed because Al Ahly was playing in the like kind of like the Club World Cup. I forget what it's called. And they're playing against Pachuca and stuff like that. So that match came right in the middle of the third match day of the CAF Champions League. So that match got pushed back. And in that match, CR Belouizdad lost 6-1 in Cairo. So people took that very, very, like, they took that to heart in Algeria. You can lose to Al Ahly in Cairo. You don't lose 6-1. Not when you're a club like CR Belouizdad that has made the quarterfinals of this competition 3 out of the last 4 years. One of the top 6 clubs in Algeria, and they're not 6. And so this for me was really a question of honor overall. Like, you need to respond here. If you think you're a big club, you do not let this happen again. After that match, they only played one match against Akbu. They won that match 1-0. And to be honest, CR Belouizdad are in a position where, if you remember at the beginning of the year, there was a lot of turnover with the coach and with a lot of players, and so they were lagging behind in the Algerian league. But they've slowly crawled their way back, and if they win all of the matches that they have in hand, they will be sitting atop the Algerian league. So they're slowly making their way back. They're finding some consistency. Just that loss was really what killed them. And Al Ahly, not doing as well, not being as consistent. They have a lot of injuries in this match. They were without Omar Kamal, Tahir, Mohamed Hani, and Reda Slim due to different injuries. Marcel Koller wasn't making any excuses. He said we have a squad of 32 players, all at the same level. Injuries are expected, but I continually discuss this with the players to maintain high standards worthy of Al Ahly. Should also be mentioned that when they beat CR Belouizdad 6-1, that was a record 27 matches undefeated in the CAF Champions League, which is so impressive. For me, that's almost more impressive than the amount of titles they won over the last 4 or 5 years. But that comes to a close now. And my prediction for this match was actually 1-1. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I thought it was going to be a scoring draw because I did think that CR Belouizdad were going to play with a lot of pride. And listening to the coach speak, he said the first thing that we have to stop Al Ahly from doing is scoring. And so when I looked at the score at 85th minute and I saw that it was 0-0, I said, okay, so the coach really focused probably on defending very well, making sure that they were cautious because CR Belouizdad could not lose this match. In fact, they probably had to win to ensure that they could catch Pirates because they lost to Pirates at home and they have to beat Pirates. They have to catch up with Pirates and they have to play in Orlando Stadium at altitude. So to catch Pirates, I thought they had to win this match, but they definitely couldn't lose it. So a draw would have been very iffy. Because if Pirates pull away, I think that would have been over with the impending visit to Orlando Stadium. So this is an absolutely massive result. I can't wait to dig in and make some kind of, some tactical observations that I can share with all of you in a few days' time. But this completely unsettles and shifts everything that we had known about this group in the CAF Champions League, because we thought that Al Ahly and Pirates were going to run away with it when Pirates beat CRB in Algeria. But the fact that CRB beat Al Ahly now, I still think they're an outsider here, but man, they're alive now. They're very much alive. The next game tomorrow afternoon is going to be Young Africans versus TP Mazembe. For this match, I put in subtext, who wants it? This is a must-win match for both teams. Yanga have 1 point after 3 matches. Mazembe have 2 points after 3 matches. Uh, Seyed Ramovic, remember he came in from TS Galaxy in the middle of all of this after they fired Miguel Gamondi prematurely. He admitted that he has a lot of ground to make up, and he lost that first match in the CAF Champions League. But I think Young are in a good position now because of the remaining 3 matches, they played 2 at home and 1 away from home. They have to capitalize on that magic that they can conjure at the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium. And before the break, they played against TP Mazembe in Congo, and if you remember, they scored a last-minute equalizer, and that's the kind of thing that can galvanize you and give you a lot of momentum. Since that match, 4 straight wins for Yanga with an average of 4 goals per game, and they only conceded 2. 16 goals for, 2 goals against in those 4 matches. So they're in great form. They do have some injuries. No Clayton Shama, no Max Nzengali, and no Kwasi Yao. 3 starters for Yanga, but the kind of momentum that they've built in the league, and I know the Tanzanian Premier League is not the strongest when you go away from those top three. Um, I like where Yanga sits at the moment. As for Mazembe, they had no matches since the CAF Champions League, I believe, and they also have 3 injuries. No Badamasi, no Ngimbi, no Hainikoi in attack, and Ngimbi in midfield, and Badamasi in midfield. So this is one of those where like I said, who wants it more? Who believes that, because this is a tight group, and because it's a tight group, these teams are still alive, but one of them eventually has to win a match. And so the fact that it's being played at home, my prediction is 1-0 for Yanga, but it's going to be a tight match. Moving on quickly to Orlando Pirates versus Stade d'Abidjan. And here my subtext is, who are you, Orlando Pirates? And Stade d'Abidjan are just here for the experience. Orlando Pirates, they have 2 matches left at home in altitude and 1 match away to Al Ahly. I was very, very impressed with Orlando Pirates in the first 3 matches of the CAF Champions League. That said, there's a difference when you come into this competition and you're trying to shock, you're trying to prove that you belong, and then there's a difference when you have to maintain that. It's not easy, but it's more difficult staying at the top of the mountain than it is climbing up the top of the mountain. It's a difference between being the hunter versus the hunted. And I think over the first 3 match days of the CAF Champions League, Orlando Pirates proved that they belong here, and now they have a bullseye on their back. CR Belouizdad have that bullseye on their back. And so my question is, how does Orlando Pirates assume that status? How do they? Okay, now you're not surprising anybody anymore. How do you look now when teams are going after you? Um, Jose Rivera, I pulled off some quotes from his press conference. He said, "We, as teams in football around the world, are now experiencing a new experience." This is what I'm getting to. We're playing every 3 or 4 days, traveling, no time to train, and we only have time to try and have players recover as best we can with our resources. This is part of being, a big club, part of being one of the top clubs in Africa, playing in competitions like this. It's not the same thing when you're trying to get there, but when you're up there and you're starting to roll in these matches one after the other, that's when things can get tough. And so really proving that you're a top dog, not proving that you can beat the top dog, but proving that you are the top dog, it starts with winning matches you're supposed to win. And Orlando Pirates are supposed to beat Stade d'Abidjan at home. And so this is a match that I think they have to win now, especially following the CR Belouizdad result against Al Ahly. As for Stade d'Abidjan, they have 2 matches away from home. Of the final remaining 3, I think they're done here, especially considering the strength of the other 3 teams in their group. They don't have any reported injuries ahead of this match, which gives the coach Alex Lafitte a massive boost. Ousmane Mete, I thought, was impressive. They have Raji Saleh, who can be dangerous. And remember, Stade d'Abidjan have been very good on set pieces, but I just think Pirates are going to step up to the occasion, and they're going to win this match 3-1. That's my prediction. This is a little bit quick because I gotta sleep because I gotta I gotta wake up early tomorrow morning. But moving on to AS Farabat versus Manyama Union. AS Farabat playing in I think they're playing in Meknes, not in Rabat. Um, they're in great form. They after the third match of the CAF Champions League, they drew one match versus Wydad 2-2, very interesting match, and then they win three on the trot. And Hubert Veloud, I feel like, is coming to his element as the very experienced coach of this AS Farabat team. He's coached at Mazembe, he's coached all over the continent, really very experienced. And as I was looking at Rabat's team on paper, something came to mind. I said, "Is this team better than Raja?" When I look at the players one by one, when I look at like Zahzouh, Fahli, Harimat, Sassaubi in defense, the way they recruited Joel Beya and Oribonyi, the Botswanan winger, and Joel Beya, the Congolese striker, I think they are. Um, Maybe that's a little bit harsh, but I honestly think that not only are they playing better football than Raja, and that's without a shadow. I mean, there's no argument in that. There's without a shadow of a doubt. But I also think that player by player, they might even be better than Raja in that sense. So I really like Rabat and where they are at the moment. As for Manyama, they're proving difficult to beat in this competition. After three matches, they have 3 points. They've drawn every single one. So they're not winning matches, but they're not losing matches. And unfortunately, that's not going to do enough. They have to win their first match. In the league, they only played one match since the break. They won that match 3-2 coming from behind. And apparently, according to the coach, Papi Kimoto, the team is a little bit rusty. Players were away for a chance, so they were not really training together with some of their best players. And he said, we need to win in Morocco or draw. And another thing that he said that I thought was very funny is he said, we're already in Morocco, speaking to a Congolese journalist a few days ago, I think yesterday. And he said, and it is very cold. And the Congolese journalist that was writing the article wrote, the glacial temperatures in Morocco. And it's just sometimes, it's funny because, sometimes in North Africa, we complain about the heat of those early afternoon matches, when you play in especially artificial pitches, especially in Central Africa, for example, or in a place like Malawi, and we say they're using this times of playing in the early afternoon to their advantage, and they're using the heat to their advantage. And I never think about it in the reverse, but it's true. Like, if you are not used to playing in 8, 9, 10 degree weather, for me, that's normal weather. But for somebody maybe from Congo, DRC, that could be glacial temperatures, as the Congolese journalist wrote. So that was just an interesting inverse of perspective. My prediction here is AS Farabat is going to win this match 1-0. They've defended well throughout the competition, and I think they're going to continue that and probably get a goal. Raja versus Mamelodi Sundowns. Raja last year won the league undefeated. This year they are 16 points behind the Butola Pro leader RS Berkane, and they lost to RS Berkane home and away. They are a club in crisis, according to all reports in Morocco. It all started this summer when their president had an arrest warrant issued against him. The new president, Adil Hala, was brought in, and he's been criticized nonstop by the ultra groups. They're having an emergency board today, Friday evening. Some people apparently are trying to push him out. The ultras have written messages about him, and they just don't like the instability at the coaching level. They've already had two full-time coaches and an interim coach. Now they're looking for another coach to bring in. They've had problems apparently. I'm not fully up to speed here, but apparently had problems with a lot of players, like the way they've managed the cases of Yusri Bouzouk, Anis Niti, and Yassin Belamri. Um, and yeah, and apparently they brought in Miguel Gamondi from formerly of Yanga, the Argentine coach, to be the coach of Raja Casablanca. And he came to Casablanca and he had a meeting with everybody and he left without signing. And media reports are that he just didn't believe in the administration. He didn't believe in the board, and that's a pretty damning conclusion. Usually coaches out of a job, big prestigious club like this, as long as the salary's on point, they're gonna take the job. So I thought that's pretty damning. So they have an emergency meeting with former presidents, the current board, as to try and motivate the club ahead of this match. I think Raja understand that their backs up are against the wall. They only have 1 point. They're bottom of the group. They are going to be absolutely desperate. But they're coming up against Mamelodi Sundowns, and Miguel Cardozo has won his first four matches. I think all of them clean sheets. Three of them 1-0. And that's the thing with Miguel Cardozo when he replaced Coach Mkoba. But my thing with him, I think maybe in a competition like this, you need a coach that knows how to defend. He's proven he knows how to do that. He's proven he knows how to win ugly, and he did that against Sundowns with Esperance last year. But I just want to hear from Sundowns fans. Do you need to have an attacking philosophy? You know, I think about like Arsenal, for example. It just doesn't feel right when Arsenal. It's crazy to say this, but for me, like Arsenal is they play attractive football, and I guess in the '90s, under like 1-0 to the Arsenal, that wasn't the case. So I guess philosophies can change; they do change. But speaking to people around Sundowns as a club, from what I understand, like that's a very important part of the club's DNA is to play attractive attacking football. I just don't know if Miguel Cardozo is the man to do that. I mean, compared to his predecessors. And so that's something I think we're going to keep an eye on. But I do want to hear from Sundowns fans if you're watching. Are you okay with a coach that's just going to win 1-0 as long as he wins important matches and wins a trophy? I'd love to hear from you. Um, the direct attacks for Sundowns have been working in the CAF Champions League, especially with the beautiful pinpoint distribution of Ronwen Williams. Two goals this in the CAF Champions League have come from Ronwen Williams, direct ball to Ikram Rainers, who's been very resourceful and made all of he's really taken his chances when they've come to him. So yeah. Next two matches in the CAF Champions League are away from home for Sundown. So here's where I think Cardozo has to step up and ensure that they're solid defensively as they have been in the first four matches under his reign. If they can do that, nick a draw here, nick a win maybe. If they can do that, those two things, two points out of the next six or 4 points out of the next six, and Sundowns will be sitting pretty. Um, my prediction here is going to be a 0-0. Rajav struggled to score goals, and I think Sundowns are going to come with that defensive solidity that Cardozo preaches. And I think they're going to be happy with a 0-0 draw. Moving on to Pyramids versus Esperance. This was another match that was really interesting to watch before the break because this was the Esperance that I had hoped was going to show up this year when they recruited all of those great players, and I picked them to win the Champions League. And they went and they put it to Pyramids in Tunis, and they won 2-0, but it could have been much more than that. They completely dominated from A to Z. Um, so Pyramids, like Sierra Belouizdad, this is a matter of pride for them as well. I know they only lost 2-0, not 6-1, but like I said, they were dominated. And also, like Sierra Belouizdad, they were languishing near the bottom of the Egyptian Premier League when the season started, but now they're climbing their way up. They're second, just behind Zamalek. Um, and in a match like this, Pyramids can prove that they're a top five club in Africa because we know the squad is good enough. They have the talent for sure. But when it's time to step in the ring in a match like this, you don't have the home field advantage, and that's the thing with Pyramids FC. You don't have like a great atmosphere that's going to intimidate the opposition. Um, can they step up and can they beat a team like Esperance, which is very wily and has a lot of experience? I also have a question about Pyramids, slightly unrelated, about their aging players. They have a lot of players that are getting on and on and on and on. And I wonder if they can, in future matches, match the energy, for example, of a club like TP Mazembe or El Hilal, which run probably the most out of any in this competition. Whereas Pyramids, they like to control the ball, use the width, uh, pin you deep into your zone, and use that width to score goals. So anyways, that's besides the point. In this match, that's not going to be a big issue. I think it's going to be a cagey North African derby, tight affair. As for Esperance, they're coming off, like I said, their most impressive CAF Champions League appearance. After that, they wanted to see how they were going to do in the derby against Club Africain, who are doing very well this year. They drew 2-2 against them. Then they got two important victories against Gafsa and especially against Sfax. That latter one was very impressive. In Sfax, uh, packed crowd, and Yusuf Belaili again conjures up some magic alongside Elias Makwana, alongside Abdraman Konate, and they get a beautiful victory away from home. So after a slow start, Esperance are also coming on very strong under their new Romanian coach. So Esperance, oh, by the way, also, they're going on the stock market. They're going to be going public, and that's apparently expected to stabilize the club financially and grow even more. So Esperance, I like where they are at the moment, and I think that that kind of momentum is going to push them past Pyramids here. It's not going to be as dominating a performance. This is a little bit of a bold pick, but I think they're going to win in Cairo 2-1. Not even going to touch on Sagrada Esperanza versus Joliba. I couldn't find the time or the energy to look into it, and I think these two teams are doomed anyways. So let's move on to the final match of the match day. Yeah, Al Hilal versus Mouloudia. There's a really good interview, by the way, of Florent Ebenge on cafonline.com. I'm going to link that in the description below, where he talks about how it's been coaching El Hilal during this campaign. El Hilal have two home matches. I say home because they're playing obviously in Mauritania, Libya. Um, and so I would say technically that's supposed to favor them, but because they're not playing at home, I'm not sure it matters too much because they've proven that they can travel well and play at home well. And they're homeless in a sense, and that's absolutely fine with them. They've managed to deal with it um, absolutely fine. But let me read you some of the quotes from the article, from the interview. Um, The tactician, speaking about Florent Ibenge, attributes El Hilal's competitiveness to the opportunity to participate in a structured championship in Mauritania. So for them, that's very important, playing in Mauritania. And he thanks the Mauritanian president Ahmed Yahya for accepting. He says, "We are living in a hotel, which is not quite normal. Normal is being at home. But at least we can play in the championship and remain competitive. I think this also explains Sudan's good results in the African Cup of Nations qualifiers. We, as a staff, we are the father and the mother to the players. We use the psychologist during the preparation. Very interesting. And going back to the story, he has been very useful to us, speaking about the psychologist, and we continue to apply some of the techniques he taught us, and it helps us a lot." And I think when I read these quotes, I think, man, Florent Ibenge really is the right person for Al Hilal, just like James Kwesi Appiah is the right person for the Sudanese national team. These wiser, experienced coaches that have played in the past, they've been through many things in their life. Nothing shocks them really, And you need a steady head, a wise, a calm head, and I think Florent Ibenge is the perfect man for the job. So yeah, credit to them, and I really like that interview. I'm gonna link it in the description below. As for Mamelodi, I remember before the break they fired Patrice Baumel. That his era is over after winning the Algerian league for the first time in 15 years for Mamelodi. They came in and they brought in an experienced Tunisian manager, Khaled Ben Yahya. He coached MC of Algiers in the past in 2021, 2022. He coached Esperance de Tunis on 4 occasions. He's a club legend for the Tunisian club. And Baumel was really fired because of his poor results in the CAF Champions League and his inability to get his team to score goals, really. That said, the Ben Yahya, for me, that's going to be his main job here. It's going to be how can I help this team score goals? And that's not exactly his strong suit, if I remember his coaching style correctly. For me, he's much more of like a Miguel Cardozo, knows how to win matches, has good experience, calm head, but not necessarily like an attacking mastermind. That all of that said, according to the Mamelodi president, there's no crisis at Mamelodi, and I quote, "All teams experience periods of decline or transition. It is normal to go through tough times, but that does not mean there is a fundamental problem." Okay, if you say so. But if you don't win matches, if you don't get out of this group stage, Mamelodi is the kind of club where the slightest of failures can snowball into big things because there's so much popular pressure on the club. This match is going to be played in Mauritania at night. I'm actually expecting a lot of traveling support. I'm almost gonna say maybe the Algerian club is gonna have more fans there than the Sudanese club. Mouloudia, like I said, had great fans and they travel well. So, me personally, I think this is gonna be a very, very tight match. The journalists that have spoken to Khalid bin Yahya that are reporting on Mouloudia apparently think that MC Alger is working on a sophisticated press. I don't think that's a good idea because Al Hilal, if they proved anything, it's that they know how to counterattack and attack vertically. So if I was them, I would not do that. I would keep it tight, keep it cagey. I think that's how this match is going to go. My final prediction is 1-1. So leave it there for now. It's a very short podcast just to say hi to everybody, just to say I'm back, just to say hope you're all well. If you're looking forward to any of these matches, please comment. If you have anything to say about any of these matches, please comment below. And let's get back into the swing of things because the CAF Champions League, before you know it, we're going to be into the knockout stages, and that's when we're going to have to amp up some coverage. So, yeah, good to be back, and I'll speak to you all very, very soon. Peace.